What made you decide to make the leap from having an informal business to making it formal? Like,
I feel that's makes you grow more and makes find you the right clients. It's actually people who help you and you can hire them to help you do that whole process for you, and it makes it so much easier because when I tried to do it by myself, it was language, the whole not knowing a lot about the business was really difficult for me.
okay, so I want to welcome Stephanie Hernandez
Thank you.
with La Autentica Mesa Loca Catering.
That's correct.
That's awesome. Okay, so now tell me a little bit about your background in the food industry, like how you came to be in this position where you decided to start your own catering business.
It's kind of funny because I am a nurse. I am a medical assistant for a clinic here in Utah.
Okay.
But I before going to school for that, I was working always in hotels and working for receptions there at the hotel that I was working. And I always loved that about catering and how people appreciate just a small piece of cake makes them so happy, and how they change the entire event, how a small snacks can change the entire purpose of the event. Yeah.
Okay, so you were working in a hotel and were you preparing the food or serving the food?
No, I was actually the housekeeper supervisor. I was more doing the tables, the decoration, and all about that.
Okay.
I was not in the kitchen, but I was helping to set up the desserts, not actually cooking them. But that's where my curiosity for this environment started.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So what made you decide to start your own catering business?
Well, the economy, to be totally honest, I'm one of that percent of women that need that extra income when they divorce.
Okay.
So I decided to start doing fruit tables for on the weekends when I had time off,
Okay.
and that become really popular in my community. And little by little grows as a business. Now we do more than just fruit tables.
Okay. Okay. So, do you know of a lot of people or other people who are in that same situation where they're, wanting to start a food business and maybe operating informally?
Yes, it's in my community. It's really common to happen
To
to
try out the food
try out
business
this food business by probably having a small sale at their
just for friends and family?
friends and families, exactly. And they that's how I started. I started with friends and families, just with my closest friends when they were having events like small birthday parties and small gators. I That's how I started my business, and little by little has grown as a caterer.
Okay.
But yeah, in my community it's really common to start a business with your friends and family, selling them food or like candy, or why not desserts, cakes. So yeah, it's really common. And
So what made you decide to make the leap from having an informal business to making it formal? Like,
I feel that's makes you grow more and makes find you the right clients. Making it just for friends and family doesn't let you grow as much as a formal business. You cannot charge the same price to your family and friends because your business is not that formal yet, as you can charge someone that is looking for a cater for their wedding or for their Christmas event. So that made me decide
okay.
to do that.
So yeah, just kind of opening it up and making it more accessible to the general public.
Formal.
Okay.
More formal.
Okay. I'm not familiar with anybody who has a food business that they're operating informally, But from your experience and what you've seen, is there like a common thing that makes people want to start a formal business? Is there maybe like a certain level of success that they should achieve before they formalize their business? What is the line in the sand, I guess? Where is the line in the sand of going from informal to a formal business?
I think it's like you say, successful. You're trying when trying to build a business, even if you start informal, your goal is to grow. And I think it's a point when people start knowing you, like you invite a stranger on your sister birthday party, and they love so much your job that they want to hire you. Then is when little by little the opportunities start coming to you, and the same business ask you to grow. That your job, the quality of your work is so good that people starting to ask you to grow more and have your permits, because there's a lot of venues who ask for license.
Mhm.
So we why not?
Yeah, and that's when you need
Mhm.
to pull
That's
the
when you
trigger.
decide.
So a lot of people might be, people who are operating informally might be overwhelmed by the licensing process. Maybe they're worried about even just setting up a business. Maybe they've never created a business before, never created an LLC or anything like that. And um, then you have the next hoop to jump through, which is health department, food related, specifically licensing, and then maybe cities and taxes and things
And
like
all
that. Like
that.
all of these things can sound really overwhelming
Mhm.
and maybe unachievable at some level. What would you say to somebody who is experiencing a little bit of success with their product and thinking about starting a formal business, but looking at everything that needs to happen and getting really scared by or overwhelmed by the whole process? What would you say to that person to help them move forward?
There's actually people who help you, and you can hire them to help you do that whole process for you. And it makes it so much easier, because when I tried to do it by myself, it was language. The whole not knowing a lot about the business was really difficult for me. Price, not knowing that there was like different options in kitchens. Like it was like the price that I have here for my the rent is way more affordable than what I try to find by myself. So all of that type of information, it's not a lot out there, especially in Spanish. And if yeah, so I think that
Okay. So, when you were first looking at going on your own and formalizing your business, were you looking at getting like a strip mall space or restaurant, or like what were you originally thinking before you found a shared kitchen space? What were you originally thinking you had to do?
food truck.
Oh, okay. So
That
you're
was
originally looking at a food
that
truck.
was my original goal,
Okay.
having a food truck, and still is my goal.
Okay.
And I think that will be my next step.
Okay.
First, I wanted to have my catering business really formal with all that I need. And after that, I would love to have a food truck.
Okay.
So I think that's for a lot of people who is out there. Um, there's not necessary to have a full restaurant to sell food. There's a lot of options. You can sell it from here and from the kitchen that you rent, and having your customers picking it up. There's some kitchens that offer that. There's also you can deliver it with DoorDash. There's a lot of options, not just having a restaurant. And there's that information is not out there, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So what is it about the food truck that appeals to you? Like why was that the first goal?
Because for me, it's a cheaper way to start. Like, I didn't know there was the option where you can sell from the kitchen and then just deliver
Okay, so you were looking at the food truck thinking it's cheaper than a
than
restaurant.
a restaurant, because
Okay.
having a restaurant is a way more,
That's a lot more expensive.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you were thinking the food truck would be a more affordable option to a restaurant, but then when you got looking into it, you found an even cheaper option of using just a shared kitchen space and just doing catering.
Right.
Okay.
And that's where I'm trying to make the money to find a food truck.
Okay. Okay. So you're going to use the catering to raise the money to pay for a food truck. Okay. Interesting. Um, One of the things that I find interesting, and I don't know if you've observed this or were aware of this, but I find it interesting that restaurants and food trucks, the most successful food trucks that I've seen, and restaurants that have been around for a while, successful restaurants that I see, both food trucks and restaurants do catering to support their the rest of the business. The catering is the thing that makes the money to pay for the restaurant
Huh?
or the food truck.
There's a lot of us out there that may not have all the money to start a restaurant or to start a food truck, but that does not stop us. We can start from the very bottoms, from selling just from your kitchen and delivering, and little by little growing. I think that's what it makes it. I don't know. For me, it makes me successful. It makes me happy. It makes me grow in life, starting from bottom, little by little, and one day, why not having a restaurant?
Yeah, yeah. So, and some of those lessons you have to learn. You've got to start at the bottom so that you learn all of the steps along the way. It's like even if you had, so maybe if somebody was willing to give you the money to invest in a restaurant, and you were able to just open the doors on the first day, you wouldn't have the experience of learning marketing and sales for your food, or even maybe food preparation, maybe going through some iterations to make the
Mhm.
food more marketable.
Right?
You wouldn't have all those experiences even if you had the money. So sometimes it's best maybe that we didn't have the money and we learn those lessons and kind of force you to,
And that's what it makes it successful or makes it good.
yeah, yeah,
What the best restaurants that you remember started from the bottom.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the best restaurants are still doing catering.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that just surprises me, like Chick-fil-A, Cafe Rio, even, mom and pop cafes
Right.
doing catering to pay the bills.
Right.
So that's kind of interesting. Um, Now, as you were going through the licensing process, getting your catering license, what were some of the biggest frustrations that you ran into while you were getting licensed?
Probably finding the right kitchen for the right price, because starting a catering business doesn't mean that you're gonna sell every day.
Yeah.
Happens to be only every weekend and not a lot every weekend. So from finding the right space for me, that something that I can afford even when I was gonna be in slow season, it was hard at the beginning. It took me a few visits to find the right place.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great. So what kind of factors were you looking at? So I'm not familiar with what other kitchens are doing. What kind of what
Most
kind
of
of things were you looking at?
most of the kitchens, they offer you packages, like if you're a big caterer, like, or a big restaurant or a food truck, like if you are selling every day, which is small businesses like mine, where we only cater fruit or snacks or desserts, or bakers who only do cakes on no Saturday. We probably can afford those prices yet. but that doesn't, that's what is stopping us to having a license, because we can afford that monthly payment on a kitchen when we're actually not using it every day.
Right.
And not all the kitchens are having this packages for caterers, for small caterers like my business.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of tricky because it's like the health department just recently started requiring that caterers have dry storage and cold storage on site at their commissary kitchen. And that's been kind of a challenge for a lot of caterers that are just starting out. In fact, at the time that they added that rule that caterers need to have on-site storage, we didn't have an affordable package for storage for caterers. So I actually had to create a a package for these small caterers that are just starting, where the health department's requiring on-site dry storage and cold storage, and the caterer doesn't even necessarily want that or need that. Um, they're buying all of their supplies and everything on the way to the kitchen, preparing the food in the kitchen, and then taking it directly to the client, and not necessarily needing to store anything on site. So we actually tried to create this package that was as small as possible, that would pass the health department inspection barely, and still be affordable, and try to create a win-win-win
Right.
situation where the health department's happy, we get paid for the space, and it's still affordable for the caterer. It was kind of a tricky
Hope they
little.
can see my side, my story, so they can give this new packages the opportunity for more caterers like me, because there's a lot of my business around, um can have all their permits, and making that step forward and making their business formal,
Yeah,
because we all deserve to win, and they're working hard, and having their business formal is gonna make them win as well. And yeah, hope the health department sees and this story, and my business can be an example
yeah,
of how can this be effective for the community.
yeah, yeah. So, I know that a lot of people might feel a little nervous about formalizing their business and contacting the health department, to get licensed and things like that. Um, and it takes a little bit of bravery to take those steps. When you were going through the licensing process, um, did you get the impression, did you feel like the health department was trying to be helpful or trying to stop you from launching your business?
Mm,
Making it difficult, or were they helpful?
no, I think they were helpful. They approved me, which I feel was, they devoured for a minute. So, and I explained my situation. I told them why I couldn't afford what they were asking at the beginning, and they, will. So,
Okay, so this kind of, I think this happens a lot, and people don't understand that it's a little bit more fluid than people think it is, where the health department, they're trying to they're trying to keep people safe. That's their number one goal, right? They're just trying to keep the public safe. And so they're imposing rules that they believe will help achieve that goal, right?
correct.
So one of their rules that they have that they believe will help the public stay safe is to store all of your utensils and smallwares and food and stuff at the commercial kitchen. Storing it at home is not allowed at all.
Right.
And that's possible. It's maybe people don't understand why that's a concern, but it's possible that the health department has gone into some pretty terrible homes and decided that, they're not going to allow that anymore. And so they want to make sure that people are operating 100% out of the commercial kitchen. So they come up with these rules. But at the same time, I feel like they're willing to work with you. It's like, okay, you're just starting out. You can start small. Maybe when you're just starting a catering business, you're not going full blown with every
This equipment.
supply and equipment that you can get from the restaurant supply company. And so you don't need to store all this stuff because you're not going full blown. You're starting very small. And I think the more you communicate with the health department about your smaller needs, the more they can help you fit within something that's within your budget.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it can be difficult to communicate that, but I think they're willing
They're
to.
willing to listen to you because they listen to my point and my situation, especially that I was in low season. For me, it's fruit, so not a lot of people hire me on winter time for fruit. So I explained them that, so they were willing to work out with me. So I'm sure they will do that for all the community and all that businesses that want to go formal.
Yeah, that's been my experience is that the health department is a lot more helpful than people think that they're. Yeah, they have their rules and you have to operate within the rules. But if you ask enough questions and communicate enough with them, you can come to some sort of agreement that works for both.
Correct.
Yeah. Um, Now you mentioned that one of the concerns might be language barriers. What was your experience when you're going through the licensing process? Did you run into language problems, language barriers?
I feel, especially when you're trying to communicate with them, like emails, questions. Most of the employees are speak English, and a lot of us, try to speak both, but a lot of businesses out there may only speak Spanish. So I feel that that was a little bit tricky when you
Okay.
try to communicate, especially over the phone or emails. But that was my experience on me.
Okay. I've heard that they do have Spanish speaking personnel in the health department in food protection.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that that won't be a barrier for a lot of people. And then if they're nervous about these barriers and not only language barrier, but paperwork can be overwhelming and scary. And you hired a service to help you through that process. Tell me about your experience with Omar's services.
I'm really happy. It's basically just giving him all your name, your business name, all your information, and he takes care of everything. You just go sign, meet the inspector, you go with him and
Mhm.
have your inspection with him. But he does all the hard work for you. He's bilingual. He speaks Spanish and English, which is really helpful. He knows a lot about Hispanic food, like the menu. Like I have a really fun menu where we create um plates with gummies, fruits, and chips. And he knows about all this because he's around with a lot of Hispanic businesses. So he was really helpful for me. I definitely will use them all if I need it again.
Yeah, yeah.
And totally recommend it. If you feel like you don't have the time or the knowledge or the patience, just hire someone. It's gonna be really easier and
How much? Okay, so you've started this catering business, this fully licensed catering business, um, and you've hired Omar to help you out to do the licensing. and you've been through this whole process. What would you recommend people set aside as a budget for this whole process? Like what do you think they need to save up to pay for permit fees, for kitchen, for Omar's services?
Around 3,000, something
Okay.
like that.
3,000 to go through the whole process, and not only go through the whole process, but have somebody else
Help.
do all the paperwork and do all the
Yeah.
communicating with the health department
Yes.
and all of that stuff and help you with your menu. Um, okay. That's good to know. $3,000 to just go through the whole process. I think people will be surprised by how low that number is. $3,000 to start a business is not bad.
Oh,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Okay, great. Um, any other lessons that you learned along the way that you'd like to share?
That is possible to my community, to tell them that it's possible. A lot of my community are people who has seen me are gonna, you know, probably feel like they can do it too.
Yeah,
By seeing me doing it, they're gonna feel like they can do it too. And why not? If I did it, you can do it too. Language, or even if your business is really small, even if you only sell candies, you can do it too.
awesome. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for as well. I'm hoping that your story will inspire people to formalize their business, so they don't have to worry about getting caught or getting shut down, or and they can also grow the size of their business, really expand.
And also, a lot of groups out there where you can promote are asking you for permits when you want to promote, and groups where people that are going to have weddings are looking for caterers, they ask you to have those permits. And those are the events that you want to get higher, because those are the events that are going to make you grow, that they're going to make people know you more, and they are going to pay you better.
Yeah, they're good profit.
They're good profit. And that's your goal for your business, to grow, to
Yeah,
make you bigger in life.
that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking with me and sharing your experience. And we'll be watching and waiting
I'm
for all the
excited.
success stories and can't wait to share those successes with you.
I'm excited too.
Thank you.
My pleasure.